You won't believe the mayhem brewing under the neatly coiffed smiles and perfect family photos of Kody Brown's wives. What looks like a blissful polygamous utopia is really far from it. This is a messy tangle of egos, control battles, money problems, and some very bizarre behavior that continually backfires in spectacular fashion. I'm talking about Kody, the self-absorbed patriarch whose obsession with controlling every little detail is pushing the entire family into disorder. Then there's Janelle, the practical and independent wife doing her best to maintain her sanity while steering clear of Kody's drama as much as possible. And Robyn, oh Robyn, the newest addition, with her doll obsession and questionable financial decisions, bringing yet another layer of instability into the mix. Mary and Christine aren't exempt either. Both are battling their own demons with Kody's controlling behavior and the fractured family dynamics. Hello friends, I'm Emma, and welcome to TLC Next Chapter. If you enjoy unfiltered, raw reality behind reality TV families, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe because today we're getting up close and personal with the truth behind the scenes. The messy, emotional, and sometimes simply wild reality of this polygamous household. Trust me, you won't want to miss all the drama and eye-opening revelations. Before we get started, let me ask you in the comments, what do you think about Kody and his wives? Is this just ordinary reality, television fun? Or is there something darker and more complex going on behind the scenes? Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with the man who's at the eye of this hurricane, Kody Brown. If there's anything that characterizes him, it's a giant ego layered in a well-groomed veneer of the ideal polygamous husband. But strip off that gilded veneer, and underneath you get a man consumed by control, domination, and ensuring his own needs are always met first. Kody's narcissism is overt. He camouflages it behind his position as head of the family and his religious faith to sanction his behavior, even when that behavior causes pain to the very individuals who are required to be his helpmate. His polygamy is not about love or partnership. It is a business deal in which his wives are there mainly to serve his ego and, honestly, to continue having children. It's as if each of his wives is a chapter in his own success story, and he keeps comparing them to determine who's doing better at the wife job. Look at the way he treats Janelle, his longest wife. She's the family's actual MVP. Tough, capable, and down to earth. But even she can't escape Kody's control issues. He wields his approval like a trophy, making it obvious his ego needs constant strokes. Anyone who upsets that is at risk of being cut off emotionally or worse. Then there's Mary and Christine. They're always struggling to keep up with his demands and high expectations, feeling overqualified and underappreciated. Kody isn't the coddling type. Instead, he dictates what goes on, who gets heard, who gets seen, and who gets quietly manipulated. There is a cyclical pattern of emotional manipulation in his relationships, traditional narcissist tactics. When it doesn't work out, he's the victim, faults his wives for not being perfect, and manages to persuade everyone that the issue is with them, not with his controlling ways. One of the most insightful moments on the show is when Kody employs religion as a means to control his wives. He speaks of polygamy as an ecclesiastical, holy institution, which sounds fine in theory, but in reality, it's a means to cement his power and shut down any dissent. It's like saying, this is God's plan, so you better obey, and leaves the wives stuck between their religion and their own autonomy. That's a poisonous mix. And it's the very same thing Kody takes advantage of. His control issue permeates everything in their lives, from where they reside, how they spend money, to how they engage with their children and with one another. He's always controlling the persona he wishes the world to perceive, one that always positions him as boss. But behind the scenes, this control creates tension and resentment. The wives are trapped in dynamics where they're expected to feed Kody's ego and respond to his demands instead of being partners on an equal level. What is most striking is how Kody employs emotional manipulation to puts everyone out of sorts. He's not slow to guilt-trip the wives, making them feel like they're failing if they don't toe the line. There's this sort of unofficial dictate that if you don't prioritize his needs, you're somehow betraying the family. Or worse, the holy polygamous way of life he espouses. That puts a huge amount of pressure on the wives and further divides the family. In the end, Kody's ego and personality dictate everything that goes down in this household. His manipulation, control, and weaponization of religion make this an environment that is toxic to his wives. Instead of partners, they are extensions of his ego and weapons to ensure his authority. The cracks that show up in this so-called polygamous paradise are in every fight, every silent treatment, and every injured feeling carefully edited from the polished episodes. If you pay attention, you begin to realize that this poisonous leadership isn't just impacting Kody's wives. It filters down to the kids, too. The family relationships are tense, and the whole arrangement is like a powder keg waiting to blow. But until then, Kody's still in charge, ensconced in his own little kingdom, either oblivious or apathetic to what he's doing. So, what's your take? Is Kody the spiritual leader of this family? Or is he just a guy who's using religion and polygamy as an excuse for his ego and control games? Leave your thoughts below because, frankly, this dude is the key to figuring out the whole debacle. Now, let's talk about Janelle, the so-called real MVP of this chaotic family drama. She's often portrayed as Kody's favorite wife, and honestly, it's easy to see why. Janelle comes across as the most grounded, practical, and self-reliant of the wives, the one who's been holding things together for years. But don't get it twisted. Her favorite status doesn't mean she's living a fairy tale. Far from it. Janelle's autonomy is her shield, her means of protecting herself from the consistent control and emotional manipulation Kody enforces throughout the series. She struggles to maintain her sanity by establishing boundaries and claiming space for herself, emotionally and physically. She's not a person who tends to roll over and take everything lying down, and that pushback is truthfully refreshing. But no matter how hard she attempts to be tough, she's still caught up in Kody's world, a world in which her freedom is merely tolerated until a point. Kody's dominance is like an unseen leash that grows tighter whenever she gets out of line a little too far or attempts to create some space between them. What makes Janelle such a relatable character is how she freely expresses frustration with the situation. You can find it in her eyes, those occasional glimpses of when she wishes to just turn around and walk away from the whole ordeal. But she remains. Why? Due in part to family obligation, due in part because she has put so much time and effort into it, and due in part because if she left, the whole family dynamic she helped establish would be shattered. But with each season, you sense this definitive feel that she's emotionally checked out in so many ways, that she's had enough of playing Kody's game. Her dynamic with him is complicated, to put it mildly. It's knotted with history, shared children, and an undeniable tension. They're hardly ever on the same page, and there's this lingering resentment that never quite dissolves. Janelle's autonomy confronts head-on Kody's ego-driven desire to dominate, and this creates a push-pull situation that is tiring to watch. She needs respect and space, but Kody is more interested in keeping his boss hat on than respecting her as his equal partner. Her tale is somewhat tragic in that she is what could have been. Someone who perhaps would have had a true partnership if not for Kody's compulsion to control. Rather, she's forced to walk this toxic family dynamics tightrope, holding on to who she is while keeping the peace, all under the guile of a man who insists on selfishness. It's this tension that makes Janelle such an important part of getting the entire dysfunctional family thing. Her struggle is legitimate, and her quiet defiance is strong. But the bigger question is, can she continue to hold on? Okay. Now let's move on to Robyn, the new family fluff. Truthfully, referring to her as simply that hardly does justice to just how involved and messy her position truly is. The minute she shows up, Robyn's actions raise more than an eyebrow and create a drama chain reaction that the entire family labors to keep up with. One of the creepiest things the show brings to light is Robyn's major doll fixation. Early on, it may present itself as strange or even harmless, but as you explore further, it just seems like a bright red flag, an opening into some serious underlying issues of mental health that the cameras never fully pick up. Robyn's interest in dolls is not a mere fluke hobby. It is more like a coping mechanism for her, an escapism, or a way to deal with emotions she cannot really process. The series hints at instances where this fascination treads on disturbing, and viewers cannot help but question whether it is more a symptom of emotional fragility rather than merely an odd hobby. This doll obsession provides an odd, disconcerting level to the family dynamics, particularly because the other wives obviously recognize it as being odd, but are unable to address it directly without exacerbating the situation. But the dolls are not all of the issue. Robyn's financial habits fuel the flames even more. Throughout the series, her financial woes are a primary cause of angst. She's demonstrated struggling to be frugal with some erratic spendings that don't seem to make sense for a person who's needed to be helping to contribute to this already unstable family system. Whether it's spending money on things they don't need or depending too much on Kody's financial assistance, Robyn's lack of financial responsibility is a constant headache. It's not just about finances, it's about stability and trust, something the entire family severely lacks. On top of all this, Robyn's emotional roller coaster seriously impacts her relationship with Kody. It's clear her insecurities make her cling even tighter, almost as if she's desperate to prove her worth in a family where she's the newest and least established wife. That desperation often comes off as needy or unpredictable, which only adds to the tension. Robyn is often the lightning rod for blame and anger with the other wives, who find her sometimes frustrating behavior maddening. They feel sorry for her, but they resent her bringing drama into their already stressful lives. Robyn's arrival is like a storm cloud that never dissipates. She emerges with a level of tension no one really wanted, but can't avoid either. It's not hard to see why the family breaks down further with her added to the mix. She's the wild card, the emotional powder keg nobody really knows how to deal with. What's sad, though, is under all the tumult is a woman who's obviously struggling, perhaps even lost. The show does such an amazing job of capturing this tension, portraying Robyn as both a victim of this poisonous system and as a source of conflict. Seeing Robyn's saga play out shows you just how tenuous this entire polygamous arrangement is. It's not merely a matter of Kody's ego or the frustration of the other wives. It's also about the fissures created by psychological problems, fiscal disasters, and emotional overload that no amount of reality television melodrama can conceal. Robyn's story is a tangled, anguished reminder that beneath the camera smiles and the family photo album smile, a lot of harm is being done underneath. So yeah, her doll mania and financial mess aren't quirky tidbits. They are symptoms of a larger story that shows how tenuous and broken this whole family actually is. If I were to ask you, her ordeal says a lot more about how this family's so-called love is itself an insecure, brittle act, with everyone just holding on by their fingertips. What's your take on Robyn and her part in all this craziness? Let me know in the comments below. I'm very interested in hearing your opinion. Now, let's turn the spotlight on Meri and Christine, two wives who go largely unnoticed, but are absolutely essential to realizing the fissures in this family's foundation. Both women have been fighting their own wars, struggling to survive under the crushing burden of Kody's ego and his incessant need to control. Whereas Janelle must battle to stay independent, or Robyn, whose battles are vocal and apparent, Meri and Christine's battles usually simmer unseen. But that doesn't imply that they are less agonizing. Meri's coping mechanism usually resembles backing away, withdrawing from the whirlwind to shield herself emotionally. She has been honest about being neglected by Kody, and you can observe this in her body language and those infrequent times when she drops her guard on the show. She has a recurring tug of war between wanting to be included in the family and being invisible, just another chip off Kody's ego block. Her anger isn't always blaring or theatrical, but it's certainly genuine. Meri avoids confrontations, but that distance only opens up the chasms in their relationships. It's a slow-burning fire, making her feel stagnant and alone. Christine, meanwhile, articulates her hurt in other ways. She's more adamant about the pressure Kody puts on her when it comes to having more children and where she stands within the family structure. Christine's issue is finding a compromise between her needs and Kody's needs, which frequently results in acrimonious arguments or times when she shuts down. In contrast to Meri's subtle withdrawal, Christine's style periodically creates obvious tension and battles that flow through the family. She must clearly be struggling to be noticed and respected, but the psychological cost takes a toll on her. Meri and Christine together embody the wives stuck in the middle of this poisonous system. Ignored, coerced, and frequently upstaged by the more attention-grabbing personalities in the house. Their experiences are a reminder that this isn't about any one wife or any one relationship. It's a tangled mess of hurt that impacts each person differently. Neither Meri nor Christine gets much attention, but their behind-the-scenes struggles contribute yet another twist to the family's dysfunction. Ultimately, their lives show how Kody's narcissism and control tear the family asunder from the inside out, leaving these women to struggle with feelings of invisibility and emotional exhaustion. It's a hard, sad truth that doesn't receive nearly the attention it deserves. What's your take on Mary and Christine's struggles? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. All right, friends. Here's where everything clicks into place. And it's not a pretty picture. Kody's whole setup? It's not really about love. It's about control. His toxic masculinity isn't just a personal flaw. It's the driving force behind the entire family dynamic. He's put it all in religion and polygamy to make it appear holy, even righteous. But underneath that shiny TLC facade, it's about power, domination, and keeping people in submission. Wives, children, and even viewers at home. Kody uses religion as a sword and a shield, throwing scripture around to defend his position as a supreme patriarch, the one who dictates what happens, and everyone else is supposed to follow along, not questioning. It never has anything to do with genuine partnership or respect. It's all about exerting power in the name of divine right. Polygamy, in this case, isn't some utopian fantasy where everyone gets along and is happy. No, it's more of a platform for Kody's ego to be front and center, with the wives vying for whatever attention and affection they can manage to scrounge up, if you can even term it that anyway. It's transactional at best. Baby factories, ego gratifiers, emotional punching bags. That's how Kody treats and uses his wives. All that glitz and glamour on TV, complete smoke and mirrors, smiles and day trips on the cameras, but in the bedrooms, it's manipulation and abuse. Financial disaster mounts up with Robyn's spendthrift nature added on top, making everything even more stressful. You notice mental health issues disguised as eccentricity, but the tension is real and raw and perilous. The strained relationships between the wives, the emotional withdrawal, the resentments unspoken, it's all a cry for instability. It isn't a happy family. It's a pressure cooker on the verge of an explosion. What's worse, though, is how the children become casualties of the process. They're observing their parents play these poisonous roles, and that creates wounds no amount of screen time can heal. The entire family system begins to feel less like home and more like a cult, a manipulative, sick system in which autonomy and emotional security get stamped out in order to keep the show going. So here's the bottom line. Don't be taken in by the glossy edits and posed moments. Behind the cameras, this family is struggling with genuine hurt, issues with control, and dysfunction. It's a warning about what occurs when toxic masculinity masquerades behind religion and tradition, dragging everyone along with it. If you've been following this drama, you've watched the fissures form. Now we need to see beyond the soap opera and acknowledge the human toll beneath. This isn't entertainment, folks. This is a stark snapshot of what power and control look like when they fragment families from the inside out. I'd love to get your opinions on this debacle. Do you approve of the manner in which Kody operates his family? Leave your comments below. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to TLC Next Chapter for more real, no-holds-barred opinion. Let's continue peeling back the onion together. After everything we've unpacked, it's hard not to feel for the people caught inside this whirlwind, especially the kids growing up surrounded by drama, control, and constant tension. That kind of mark isn't something a TV edit can ever wash away. These aren't just characters on a screen. They're real people dealing with real pain, confusion, and fractured relationships. The emotional aftermath of Kody's controlling needs and the household's sick patterns isn't resolved by a camera crew tagging along with them. It's for life. I truly want to know, what do you think about this family? Do you believe there's hope for healing in a situation as knotty and complicated as this one? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to TLC Next Chapter for more unfiltered, honest, and sometimes painful truths about your favorite reality TV shows. Before you leave, here's something to think about. When does a family pass from love into control? And can polygamy ever be anything greater than a powder keg for toxic relationships? Think on it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.